Hey, how you doing? You guys asked me to do a follow-up video to my Squier Vintage Modified unboxing video. This video is going to be my opinions and explaining some things about the guitar. If you guys are looking to get a Squier Vintage Modified, you might notice there's two different ones. There's this Vintage Modified 70s, and then there's the regular Vintage Modified. This is the Vintage Modified 70s, and I'll explain the differences. At first, I didn't want to get this one because I don't like the black plastics. And the regular Squier Vintage Modified is this color at first appearance, and it's got aged white plastics. It looks like this right here. After researching into these, I wanted vintage white, which is a solid color. This guitar here, it is vintage blonde. Vintage blonde is a see-through finish. And you can't tell from these pictures, but if you was to see this model in person, you'll be able to see the wood grain through the finish, and I don't want that. So I decided, okay, well, I'll just get this one, change the pickup covers and knobs. Well, since I got the thing in person, I kind of like the black. So I'm just going to leave it the way it is. It's kind of cool. It's something different. My other guitars have aged white, so this is just something different. Another difference, for whatever reason, is the 70s Vintage Modified has both string trees, whereas the regular Vintage Modified just has one string tree. I don't know why they did that. Another thing is the regular Vintage Modified, though this looks like rosewood, Fender is claiming that it's a Indian Laurel, which I don't know if that's a type of rosewood, but it's saying that this board is Indian Laurel, whereas this model's rosewood. So the Vintage Modified 70s is this guitar in vintage white, and you can get it in black with maple fingerboard. The regular Squier Vintage Modified is the same guitar, different color plastics. They took away a string tree. That one is a see-through vintage blonde, and you can get that one in sunburst. That particular one has the Indian Laurel instead of rosewood. So once again, the reason why I chose this one is I wanted the solid color vintage white. That's the main reason. I haven't pulled the cellophane off of this thing yet because I'm waiting to play the strings and then restring it, because I'm going to pull all of this stuff off of here and take the cellophane off properly. I don't want to just tear the cellophane off and then there be little cellophane tags all underneath the knobs and everything. So I'm going to play these strings until they need changed and then pull all the cellophane off. So you'll just have to excuse the ugly cellophane on it. So let's go over some specs and opinions. I feel that the Squier Affinity series and the Squier Bullets give the guitars a bad name. The Squier Standard series used to always be real good guitars. I noticed they moved the production of those to China now. They used to be Indonesian. The Indonesian factory is now making these, the Vintage Modified series. These retail, for around $300. My opinion is a step up from this guitar would be the American Special series. And I know that's a big gap. They have some Mexican models and stuff. For $300, you cannot beat this guitar. If I stepped up from this guitar, it would be the American Special series. That's why I bought this guitar. So let's just start at the headstock here. I'm going to rock the camera and you can see how shiny and nice the clear is on this headstock. And if you get the 70s, you'll have this extra string tree. Regular Vintage Modified, it isn't there. These are vintage style tuners that have the gap here where you can stuff the string down into the post and turn. This is more of an older style vintage tuner. They had these type of tuners through the 50s and 60s, I think. I don't know what year they changed, but 70s Stratocasters have F tuners on them. They got the big cursive F on them. One thing I did here is these say designed and backed by Fender, and then it says handcrafted in Indonesia. A little secret is carbon choke cleaner will take this ink right off. The serial number and all of this stuff on the back is printed right on top of the clear. So if you're very careful, take a little bit of carbon choke cleaner on Q-tips and you can pull off whatever you want. So this guitar just now says Fender and the serial number. My initial plans for this guitar were to do this. That's a Fender water slide decal. I still might do this at some point, but you know, you got to sand this down to bare wood, put the water slide decal on it, and then shoot clear back over it. Getting this thing brand new, I'm just like, man, you know what? If you see this in person, the clear just looks beautiful. I'm sort of like, I don't care what people think and just leave Squier on it. Who knows? What do you guys think? Future project video? You'd have to clip this off. This original contour body goes right here. I don't know, man. Just holding this decal, holding this water slide over here is piquing my interest. This is a synthetic bone nut, and they're calling these frets medium jumbo. They look more like vintage frets to me, but they call them medium jumbo. One thing that's nice about these frets is they're real high. They're tall frets. So I'm not even touching the wood right now. So that makes the guitar feel real nice. And actually, when the frets are tall, I don't really care as much about them being jumbo. Fret markers are like a off-white. There's the side dots. It's got thick polyurethane finish. Back of the neck and the headstock has a good coat of poly on it. This is the Fender C-shaped neck, 4-bolt. Fender says this body is basswood. This one's pretty light, 7 pounds. These are usually about 8 pounds. The thing about buying from Sweetwater is they weigh the guitars, so you can choose a light one. I shouldn't be giving my secrets away, because you guys would be all buying the light ones up before I can get to them. Body finish is gloss polyurethane, I believe. Polyester, whatever. I mean, not wasting your time with too much of the obvious specs. 25.5-inch scale, of course. It's got a 9.5 fretboard radius. So this guitar basically is the same spec as, say, a 69 to 71 Fender Stratocaster, except for maybe the large F-tuners not being on it. It's pretty close to the same spec guitar. Fender went to the 3-bolt micro tilt in 71, I think. So if you want a 3-bolt reissue like that, I think the Mexican 70s reissue still has that 3-bolt micro tilt system. These pickups are hard to shoot because they're all black, but these are Duncan designed. They're calling these the SC101. They sound great, man. I'm not changing them. It'd be nice if they had a little more output, but they sound great. 5-way switch, volume, tone. This is the vintage synchronized tremolo bridge. This guitar came with it back on the body. I don't know if Sweetwater did it that way or what. They're showing nut width on the thing, on the Fender side at 42 millimeters, 1.650, if you wanted to get that technical with it. There's the switching. That's your standard 5-way. If you like 70s Stratocasters, late 60s, this thing is awesome. And buying from Sweetwater, it's set up perfect. Didn't have to adjust anything. So, right out of the box, as you can see, I lowered this middle pickup down. These are the only bads, and you may think these are big ones. It's oh so common on these Fender bridges for the adjustment screws to be sticking up. So these are digging into my hand, which is kind of agitating. And the bridge is all the way back against the body. Now, technically, that should be floating a little bit with the stock Fender setup. And these are brought down pretty far. Now, the reason this was done is to get the action where it needs to be. But what I'm probably eventually going to do is put a neck shim in this to tilt the neck back a little bit so I can bring these saddles up to get the screws out of my hand and to maybe float this a little bit. If you was to bring those saddles up and float the tremolo, the action would be like, to simulate floating the tremolo. Boom. So there you go. It goes from this to there. So that neck shim would bring that gap back down to there. And then you'd have these saddles up. So that's my only gripe with the guitar, is this is a little too close for my preference. I would rather these strings to be up a little bit, which my other Strats are set up that way. So there you go. That's the only con. I'm going to deal with it like this for a while. We might do a Headstock logo. And I don't know if I need to do another neck shim video, do I? I got like, what, 27 of them? I'll probably get the StewMax shim for this one, instead of just putting aluminum foil or sandpaper or a business card. I think maybe we'll buy some StewMax. Get this raised up off of the body, get those adjustment screws out of my hand. Anyway, so there you go, guys. The Squier vintage modified 70s Stratocaster. The vintage blonde looks just like this in tint. You'll be able to see where the wood, like if it's a 4 or 5 piece body, you'll see the wood grain and lines all through the finish. Some videos on YouTube show the vintage blonde. You can actually see, you know, wood grain, and some of the guys that have them. So I researched enough to see that, and then I'm like, oh, okay, well, I don't want to see where the wood's put together here through my see-through blonde. I wanted solid vintage white. So that's what you got to get if you get solid vintage white, man. You got to get the black pickup one. I'm leaving this black. It kind of pops against the rosewood. My other Strat's got the cream there. It's like I don't need them all fairy looking, right? Leave some black on one of them. Maybe do a black strap, so it ain't got the fairy cream and white strap. Do the black and the black. Thanks for checking the video out, guys. If you like this video and would like to see more like it in the future, click the subscribe button and turn on notifications by clicking the little bell icon on your screen. Hopefully this information helped you out if you're looking to buy one of these, and that's pretty much everything. I went over everything, I think. You guys take it easy. I'll see you next video.